This is Dateline News and Conversation. Before I introduce my guests, I want to remind you to please join the Friends of Crimea, Friends of Russia Telegram channel by going to the address that you see below. You will find and receive a daily aggregation of all the news about Russia in the international scene. You'll receive news about the emerging BRICS movement, and you will receive the latest news about the conflict in Ukraine, as well as the development of Russia and Crimea with places like Africa now and China. So please do join and receive this daily aggregation of news. My guests tonight, they're friends, they're returning. Dragana Trifkovic from Serbia and Patrick Poppel. I think you're in Vienna. Are you at home in Vienna, or are you somewhere on the road again, Patrick?
No, I'm at home.
Okay, so tonight we are going to talk about the movement that you started, leaving the American sector. We will talk about the conferences that you had in Vienna and Belgrade about Ukraine persecuting the Orthodox Church in Ukraine, because both of you are very familiar with American soft and hard power. We'll talk about the impending crisis that the United States is trying to create in Armenia, between Armenia and Azerbaijan. I have to say also between Georgia is mixed up in this, the United States using soft power big time in Georgia. And then we will talk about the United States doing the same thing in Serbia, between Serbia and Kosovo, stirring up trouble wherever they are. So, Patrick, I want to come to you first. Give me an update on your activities with leaving the American sector. I know you've been traveling, you've been meeting with a lot of people. So I'm going to turn it over to you and bring us up to date.
So first, I like to say that this project is now growing up to a big project, because we have not only the website, we also organizing conferences, real conferences, also online conferences, and we had also this campaign on the 4th of July to leave the American sector on the Independence Day of the USA, because this is also our Independence Day from America. We like to have the independence from America. First of all, I'd like also to say thank you to Dragana, because she's also very supporting this project, and also a very important part of this project. But now it's working with different contacts, different people in different countries. So we have activists also in different countries, and also experts. They are writing articles for our websites, the LTS project. So I think it's a very good work. And since a half year we are working, and we see the successes. And so I'm happy about this, that with very, very, very little resources, we are growing up this project, and to beginning to start to change the minds of the people about America and the American history, and also what America now is doing, because these are not the good guys. And I'm talking about the establishment of the USA, not about the people. So we are, you're also American, and so I like to say there's a big difference between the people in the USA, establishment, and also this deep state, what is working now. And it's a big danger for the peace in the world. And yes, we are talking about this in this show, yes.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I've made several films that clearly demonstrate the history, the ugly, untold history of my country, the United States, and uh, it's not a pretty history. I begin documenting this really from the beginning of the country, uh, when the white Europeans discovered it. Uh, so it's really important, I think, Patrick, for me to support you and Dragana in your efforts, because as an American, I'm angry and I'm ashamed, and I've been using my film work to do what I can to open the eyes of people to what the United States has been doing. You have taken it another step further by focusing on not only the hard power and the presence of the United States occupying other countries, but the soft power. Now, Patrick, I want to ask you a follow up question. What are some of the countries that are getting involved in this movement?
So first, we are starting in Austria, and also people from Serbia joining us, people like Dragana. And we have also people in Armenia, we have people also in Germany and France, people in Poland also, because there's also a big influence. But also we have contacts to Africa and Latin America. We also like to trying to organize contacts in Asia, because also there is a playground for the American software. And I like to say, on the end of my motivation, I like to say why I'm motivated to do this. After the different political work I've done the last 7 years, I see that the biggest problem in the politics, in geopolitics now, is the influence of America. And then I find out that also that there's a problem for the societies in the country, not only the problem of American wars or for influencing policy, for regime changes. So also I see the problem is also in this spreading the American way of life to destroy traditions, cultures. So we can say in a summary, America now, or the policy of America and different circles inside America, are the biggest problem of the world now. It's the biggest problem because they are starting many wars. They are going to the inside the local counties. They go inside and influencing the societies, destroying, let's say, traditions. So I think it's the biggest problem now, the policy of America, and this is why we are starting this project. Thank you.
Well, you mentioned that the United States foreign policy is also destroying life in America. It's no secret. Uh, People who are going beyond and behind the American propaganda about how well the country's doing economically and everything. Uh, why are so many people not enjoying this great success in the economy? Uh, Vast numbers of Americans are feeling the pain. And I think probably most Americans, Patrick, as you mentioned, uh, are beginning to feel that something's not right. And I can see it, I think, in the political discourse. I can see it in the anger that's in the country. And so I think the points that you've made are really important. I want to ask you, do you have anybody from Hungary or Sweden or Norway uh, that has joined you in this leaving the American sector? Did you hear me, Patrick?
Oh, yes, I hear you.
Did
I like to say that yes, we have somebody they like to join us, but they must decide. They must also organize groups. It's also important to have groups. Only one guy from one country is very good, but we need also groups for activism. We have different people there writing for us, articles or making something else. But we need also the groups in the different countries to make different activities.
I will connect you with some peace activists in Norway, in Sweden, and Hungary, who I think you can connect with online. And I think also some people in America. I think it would be helpful if you had people in America who knew what you were doing and could help share your work and spread the word. So I will do that offline. Now, Dragana, would you like to jump in and add anything to what Patrick said?
First of all, I want to thank you, Regis, and also to thank my colleagues from United States. As you said, the American sector made a lot of problems to American people as well. So what I can see is that there are a lot of activists now, experts from United States who are fighting against this very bad influence of this deep state, globalist, or however we call them. So I want to thank you and to other colleagues, as I said, and professors like Paul Craig Roberts, like Daniel Kovalik, like Alexander Azagan, like Scott Ritter, McGregor, and so on. There are a lot of American experts who are fighting really against this bad policy. This project Leave the American Sector, which Patrick started, it's very important. It's important for people in Europe to understand that Europe is literally occupied by United States or deep state or however we call this American structures who are leading and who are leading actually the world the last 3-4 decades and who made a lot of problems everywhere in the world, like economic problems, security problems, also, as Patrick said, they influence our culture. So I will say that today in Belgrade we have this kind of manifestation, so-called Pride, and ambassador of the United States in Belgrade, Christopher Hill, is commander of this Pride in Belgrade. So it's not only to influence on our culture, to destroy our tradition, it's also to humiliate the people, because these naked people who are walking today in Belgrade are taking pictures in front of our churches, in front of our monuments, and it's very hard to look at that and to see this. For me, it's very hard to see this in my city because Serbia and Belgrade, Serbian people win in the First and the Second World War, for example. But we don't have anymore these military parades, for example, which could be pride, our pride. We don't have it, but we have this kind of LGBT pride manifestations. So I think it's very important for all of us to speak about these problems and to try together to solve these problems. And this project, Leave the American Sector, is connecting people. Patrick missed to mention Indonesia as well. They also joined this project, and we also need to involve other countries from Asia and from Africa. We have them a lot, but we have to involve all countries. Because we have now very good, I will say, very good influences and processes in Africa, where African countries actually are doing, which maybe I think European countries should do as well. They are trying to reach the sovereignty, full sovereignty and freedom from American sector at the first hand. So this is very good what is happening in African countries. And for Patrick and for me, as I support this project, it's important to weaken the people in Europe because Europe is need to leave the American sector.
Yeah, well, I know that from personal experience. I studied in Rome for 4 years and traveled around Europe, and everywhere I went, I saw American military bases. And I've returned several years ago, and I visited one of my sons who was in the military, stationed in Germany, massive bases in Germany. But Dragana, I want you to follow up with, and I want to narrow the focus. You mentioned pride, and you mentioned the American ambassador, and what
Yes.
the Americans are trying to do to, I don't want to even say undermine your culture and your values, but destroy them with
Yes.
these American Western values. Could you comment a little further on that, please?
Yes, I totally agree. I think the idea is to destroy the culture and destroy the religion as well and the tradition. So this is the problem really. I recently visited Austria. As you mentioned, we had this conference about the persecution of Orthodox Ukrainian Orthodox Church in Vienna, and after this we have another one in Belgrade. So I visited Vienna just after this month of Pride in Vienna. So I didn't have a chance to feel this atmosphere, thanks God. But I heard a lot of stories and I saw the pictures how it looks like. So in the Belgrade we have the same pressure. Maybe Vienna and Austria and other European countries are worst affected with this influence, but in the Belgrade as well we have this pressure. And I don't know. It isn't hard word to say that this is some new kind of fascism, LGBT fascism, because we are very peaceful people in Belgrade, in Serbia, and we don't have problem with this. It's not a question of human freedom, of freedom of sexuality or so on. No, it's political platform, and it is a platform for destroying our tradition, our culture, our family. This is the problem. So the U.S. ambassador in Serbia, it's the one who is pushing all the time these tendencies and this bad influence with the goal to destroy our culture and to humiliate people here. And I will say that Christopher Hill is very known in Serbia. In the 90s, he was very close with William Walker, CIA agent who organized the special operation in the Rachak village. And this operation was the main operation for start the bombing of Serbia. It was their plan to create something like this and to accuse the Serbian people and to start the bombing. So he was very involved in all these processes in 90s, and also in that time he had the connections with this so-called Kosovo Liberation Army, KLA, which is the terrorist organization. So in that time, he had contacts with them. We saw the pictures with Christopher Hill, with Hashim Tachi, for example, who was the commander of this KLA terrorist organization, and so on. And as we can see now, 30 years after this, he's back here, and he's a US ambassador trying to destroy our culture and to humiliate us. So this is what is happening in Serbia, really bad things. Also, we have recently visit of Ohio military delegation, which is very close cooperating with Serbian army. And also we had one conference in the Serbian parliament. It was the celebration of America Day in the Serbia. And Christopher Hill was the main star in this, I don't know, I call it reality show. What else? He was the main star, and he seated in our parliament, like the president of the parliament, with the US flag in Serbian parliament, and he was talking that Serbia and US need to develop the relations, and this is very important, and that America is supporting Serbia and so on. But it is funny to listen this, because actually US policy is very much anti-Serbian. The US officially is supporting the Kosovo separatists and trying to separate the southern Serbian province from the rest of Serbia. And also we can mention also this anti-Serbian propaganda, which exists from 19th till today. So this is what is happening here in Serbia now in this moment.
I want to thank you for that.
Regis, I'd like to
yes,
give a comment
Patrick.
about this.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to give a comment about this, because this Christopher Street or Christopher Hill, this guy, we can also call him LGBT Hill or something else. This guy is not the ambassador of the USA in Serbia. He is the governor of Serbia, and the
president,
the governor of the state Serbia in the US administration, because the same we can see in Germany. There's also many troops from America there, and the chancellor or other ministers, they're only the dogs of the US policy. You can see it, and destroying their own country. This is also a very important instrument of the American sector, to use the politicians in other countries to destroy their own culture. They're working against the national interests. Yes, also you can see it in Germany about the energy policy. It's against the industry, and to destroy it because the orders coming from Washington. The same you can see in Serbia, and you can see it in other countries also. But I think Germany, Serbia, and we will also talk about Armenia. There is only a very influence of soft power, but it's also very dangerous. They are influencing the different countries to destroy themselves. This is the big problem. And so, yes, but the people are tolerating this. Why the people in Serbia are tolerating this LGBT Hill? Nobody needs him, but he's there and he spoke for the people, and we say, yes, we are like to have friendship with Serbia, but the US administration don't like friendship with Serbia. They have bombed them, and now they are influencing the culture and destroying the culture, but it's not the friendship. It's not, what is this? Yes, they're only vassals. The politicians in these countries becoming vassals of the US policy. This is the normal way where it's working in Serbia, Germany, Armenia. You can see it everywhere.
Yeah. I will add to that. Um, they are spending billions of dollars to influence these politicians with all kinds of promises, personal and otherwise. It's really insidious. Uh, and, you know, as I've been thinking more and more about this American soft power really goes back to the Peace Corps. Most people think it's the CIA and the CIA alone, but it's the Peace Corps who come in and we're going to do all these nice projects for you, and we're going to win the hearts and minds of the people because America is a benevolent country. And then in comes the USAID with billions of dollars in projects, and all of it designed to change the culture and the values of the people with an infusion of Western American values. And then after that comes the NGOs like George Soros, the National Endowment for Democracy, and there's many others that I don't even know the names. So this effort by, and I'm going to qualify this, the United States is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. But I want your thoughts. It's easy to say it's the United States government. It's easy to say that it was all the presidents and the Congress. But I wonder if you think that they are just the managers of this effort to ruin traditional values, culture, and religion everywhere. Dragana, you first.
Yes, I can agree that we can say that this is U.S. Government or CIA, but I like this told of Shakespeare. I will quote, there is something behind the throne greater than the king himself. So actually, we don't know precisely who is deciding, who is making decisions in the US, or we can say collective West, because for sure it's not Biden or other figures who we know. But the problem is that it's not some conspiracy theories that all they are talking. Someone wants to destroy history, culture, and so on. It's not conspiracy theory, because we can analyze what happened in the history. We can see that in the First and in the Second World War also they tried to destroy everything which they could. For example, they try to destroy culture, like grabbing all artifacts from the museums. For example, we have a lot of these artifacts in London and in the other cities. And also they bombed libraries. For example, in the Second World War, Nazi army bombed our national library and burned all the books and the historical old books. Also, that happened in Russia in many times, that even in 90s, not in the time of war, but in the time of this so-called democracy, they managed to burn the main library in Moscow with a lot of books. So this is what some structures who are ruling the world are doing. They are literally destroying the facts, the history, the culture, the religion as well. And after these big crises, like First and Second World War, they're trying to find some new platforms and to innovate some new ideas, to write some new history as well. So this is something which we can analyze through our history. So I will totally agree. And I will just add that it's not only problem too many millions of dollars for US, for example, because they intervene so deeply in the all institutions, for example, in Serbia, but I think also in other European countries, they influence in the government, in parliament, in the educational system, in the every structure, literally. So they have this network of their own people everywhere. And for example, in Serbia, in the past, we have a lot of donations for these NGOs who support the Western policy. Too many million of dollars, but 10 years ago, US power or US government blackmailed our government and they signed an agreement. And now it's even worse because our budget, the people from Serbia are paying literally the people from NGO who are working against our interest, against our state, against our culture. It means there is a lot of money in our budget from people's budget which is going to these NGOs. I lead the NGO. The name of my NGO is Center for Geostrategic Studies in Serbia, but I didn't have any dollar or dinner or any other amount of money from any structure because we are trying to protect the culture and the interest of our state and our people, to protect our territory like Kosovo, and we don't have any donations. So this is the situation. They created this kind of world where these people who are working against the interest of common interest of people, the interest of state, of national interest against national interest, they are paid by some structures, and this is necessary to be changed.
All right. Thank you for that, Dragana. Very clear and lucid explanation of what the United States, in many ways, is doing to undermine your country, your culture, your values, and your religion. Patrick, I'll throw the same question to you. Do you think that the American government, the Joe Bidens, the Anthony Blinkens, the Victoria Nulands, the United States Congress and Senate, do you think they are just the managers of what is happening globally? Your thoughts on that, Patrick?
It's very, very clear because it's we can also see it in other countries. So not the president of Austria is managing something here, or the chancellor of Germany or somebody else. Yes. So in the West, we can see we have different circles, and these circles are ruling the policy. Yes, this is in every culture. I think the same we had also in different parts, the economic system or something else, in India, China, also in Russia. Yes, why not? But here in the West, we have another situation. We have here the situation that they are occupying the whole policy of the states. Yes, in Russia, you have also oligarchs, and they have big influence to the government. And also you have different groups in China or somewhere else, but they are not have the full control of the government. But in America, I think they use America as a distributor of their interests, and they distribute this to the local vassals, so to the occupied countries like Serbia or Germany, and they are also the managers of this. So there is something behind, and these are different circles of very, very rich people with big power. But we must see what's happening in the future. But I totally agree about what Dragana said. So there is a conspiracy, and it's not a theory; it's the reality.
Yeah. If I would mention these two organizations, I guess I wonder what you would say. First of all, there's the Bilderberg Group that meets every year in Davos, Switzerland. Billionaires, millionaires, heads of corporations, members of government, etc., etc. And then you have Klaus Schwab with the World Economic Forum, who has a different vision of the world. Dragana, I'm going to come to you. Is there any connection, do you think, between Bilderberg and Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum? And do you see these people as driving this global agenda?
Maybe they are also just managing for someone else. As we said, we don't know who is the boss, who is the main. Maybe the big corporations, maybe some very rich families, as we know, but we don't have real proof of this. But they're, I think for sure, they are the managers. And today we had this a very interesting forum in Moldova. I sent my speech because I didn't manage to go there. But the topic was the Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, and also the Great Reset. And what I said is that these old documents are integrated, and the idea is to for these global elites to keep their positions, but promising again something which they are not, they don't have intentions to fulfill. They are trying to give the full promises to people about sustainable development, about economic growth, and so on. And the idea is to organize some totalitarianism, some very authoritarian structures which will control globally the world, and as well observe fully everything. So I think we can also say that too many people, these global elites, you mentioned Klaus Schwab, we can mention also King Charles. He was also the one suggesting and supporting this global reset, big reset with Klaus Schwab. And we have a lot of these different politicians and politician stars like I don't know, Macron or Trudeau in Canada. We have now Scholz and Baerbock. These people don't have too much support in their countries. It means I will question and who elected these people. So they are bring to power in a very strange way. I can say that the similar situation in Serbia as well. Because we had this situation when we had the election for the president, the European Union sent some letter to congratulate to our new president before the elections were closed. So this is also very strange. I mean, there are a lot of these structures connected to numerous organizations. I can say that international organizations which were built after the Second World War, like UN, the Health World Organization, then the this economic forum, World Economic Forum, also this international monetary system, and so on. All these international organizations are corrupt and abused by these globalists. So this is that we need to change. It means we need to these world organizations need to be again these neutral platforms, because the last 3 or 4 decades they are under big influence of United States, of these globalist structures, because we lived in the monopoly system, and literally United States or these corporations or these technocratic business political elites through these world organizations, they take the control literally all over these international organizations, so they are not serving anymore for their purpose. This is necessary to be correct.
Yes, I agree with you. It's all connected. It's very difficult to put a name, individual names on this, but there are certain figures that stand out. The very wealthy bloodline families, the British royal crown, King Charles now representing that, and you call them globalists. Uh, so there's a variety of terms that we can use to talk about who it is that's controlling this agenda. And it's clear to see that their agenda is to create an authoritarian world where the rest of us are all, at best, slaves, whatever is left. Patrick, your thoughts?
Yes, it's the reality. This is the reality, I think. And when we look back in history, we can see many different examples about creating big empires or something else. And now they also like to create one empire, the world as an empire. And the difference is only in the history, I think the strong man on the tops of the government, everybody knows about them. But now we are going to this anonymous governments. This is the problem. Also, we have the same situation in the local countries. Can we give you an example? Who is winning the elections? They have the much money, and the money comes from, nobody knows about this. Yes? So there are big companies, they are sponsoring the parties, and the parties winning the elections. In these little examples, you can see how is it working. Also, when it comes to corruption with the medias, and the medias make good reports about different parties, and the people elect them to build the governments. So in these little corruption scandals, sponsoring different political groups in the little countries, you can see what's happening in this big project, what's happening in the world. Yeah, this is very important. Everybody can recognize this, and after this they can think about what's going on in this big world. When we can see what's going on in Serbia, Austria, Germany, Switzerland, so we have different examples. They show us how is politicians working.
It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy. I think the three of us could agree on that. All right. Well, Dragana was talking about the United States really very powerful, overwhelming influence in Serbia and Kosovo, and it's close to conflict again. I said at the beginning of the show we would talk about the crisis that's brewing in the South Caucasus, Armenia, Azerbaijan, over Nagorno-Karabakh. We can see the same thing happening with Georgia and Abkhazia. And many people don't realize that this is not just a tiny local conflict that's brewing, because Turkey is a huge power and influence, the second most powerful army in NATO, maybe the most powerful one, and Iran. Iran is a bordering country. Dragana, I wonder what your thoughts are as you look at the crisis that's brewing in the South Caucasus. It seems to be the same thing everywhere.
Yes, we have a similar situation. I want to mention the role of Israel as well, because Israel is also supporting a lot Azerbaijan, and they are cooperating a lot and developing the cooperation last years. So we have the similar situation, and why this situation is similar? Because these globalist structures, these Western powers, their ideology is to create the conflicts, the clash of civilizations. As you know, the Huntington and his famous book. It's not only the book, it's ideology, I will say, it's doctrine. And idea is when you create these conflicts are good for your positions. It means you're controlling the both side of conflicts. We know this from the Yugoslav wars, when the Western countries controlled all the countries which were fighting all against each other. So I think this is the situation also in Caucasus, that U.S. and we also mentioned some other, Turkish and Israel. They are also they have too much influence on Azerbaijan. But the problem is that U.S. is also controlling the authorities of Armenia. And the same situation is with this Kosovo problem in Serbia. The Kosovo is a southern Serbian province, if we count on the international law, because we have this UN Security Council resolution 1244, when there is written that Kosovo is the part of Serbia, it's the territory of Serbia. But of course, U.S. is ignoring the international law, and they create different reality. So the main problem is they are supporting and controlling the separatists and at South Serbian province, Kosovo, but at the same time, they are controlling our government and our president. And they blackmailed our government and our president to work against our interests. This is also the problem with Armenia, because Pashinyan is fully under control of United States, of these globalists. And when he was brought to power, there was, of course, the idea that he is a patriot. The same situation was with this Serbian Progressive Party and Aleksandar Vučić as well. He has this image of patriot, Serbian patriot, and he promised, like Pashinyan promised, that he will protect the Armenian interests. Also, Vučić promised that he will protect the Serbian interests. But what he did, he started negotiations with these Kosovo separatists under control of United States and Brussels. Of course, Brussels, the EU is also fully under American control. But you cannot have these fair negotiations if everything is under control of power, which is the main creator of this Kosovo independence project. It means it is necessary to invite, for example, Russia or China, or to insist that negotiations we must have these negotiations in the United Nations, in UN, because then you have support of Russia, which is really supporting Serbian integrity, and China as well, which is against the Kosovo independence. But Vucic is not doing this. And at the same time, Pashinyan is also making some agreements with Aliyev and Azerbaijan. At one hand, he is promising his people that he will fight and he will protect Armenian interests. Like Vucic, he is also promising to us that he will protect. And then we what can see, he is signing the agreements with separatists and giving up of our interests. So this is the same what is Pashinyan doing in Armenia. So literally, when I was in Armenia, it was, I think, 2 years ago, I speak with people and then realize how many similarities between Serbia and Armenia, and Serbian government and Armenian government, and so on. For example, in Armenia, they arrested all the generals, all officers who were fighting for Nagorno-Karabakh, for Artsakh. And in Serbia as well, they arrested all the military staff who fighting against NATO, as you know. They sent them to Hague. So there are really too many similarities, but I will say again, our main problem, it's not US policy, because we know what is US policy. Our main problem is our government or our president, who is fully under control, probably blackmailed like Zelensky, like Pashinyan, like these puppet politicians. But he is doing everything what they want. And this is our problem, because without that, they will not be able to fulfill their goals without our role, without the role of our government. So this is the problem. And the same problem is in Armenia. As you know, the Pashinyan sent his wife to Kiev recently. There was a meeting in Kiev. Sean Penn was there, and some prime ministers and first ladies. And the wife of Serbian President Vucic was also there. She visits the Kiev Pečarsk Lavra, the main Orthodox center. And she visited this main Orthodox center with these schismatics who want to separate and to create new proxy church in Ukraine. This is also similarity. Also, Pashinyan organized exercises with the American army. That is also which Vucic did in Serbia. He canceled all exercises with Russian army, and he invited the Ohio Guard and recently in Belgrade, and organized a big NATO exercises in Serbia a month ago. And can you imagine that NATO bombed Serbia in 1999, destroyed all our cities, hospital, churches, schools, and now we have exercises with NATO in Serbia. It's unbelievable. And the same thing, the similar is acting Pashinyan in Armenia as well. And also Pashinyan recently signed an agreement that Russia is aggressor, and that Russia attacked Ukraine, and it is necessary to charge Putin. And this is also which recently Vucic signed in Athens in the meeting of Western Balkan leaders with EU leaders. But the Zelensky was there as well. I don't know. I don't think that Ukraine is Balkan, the part of Balkans as well. But he was there. and Vucic, together with Albin Kurti, which is the prime minister of so-called independence Kosovo, he signed this agreement with him that Russia is aggressor. So can you mention Vucic wants to protect the integrity of Ukraine, and he also involved Serbia in this Crimean platform, which it means that he wants to return Crimea with NATO to Ukraine. And he is protecting the Ukrainian integrity at the same time destroying Serbian integrity, because he is signing this agreement together with Kosovo separatists. And this is really terrible.
I want to thank you for that, Dragana. I have been to Armenia 2 times in the last year, and I have met several people. 2 of them, I think, are known to all of us. They are members of 2 opposition parties in Armenia, and they are fighting the same things in Armenia that you are talking about in Serbia and Kosovo. They are against the government. They are against the president. And they speak out powerfully and forcefully. As you mentioned, the top generals who are patriotic Armenians have all been arrested and silenced. Many of the leaders of the opposition have been arrested. And I think it's really important that we can have this kind of discussion between the 2 of you for a primarily American audience. People who will see this show they have their eyes opened. They know that something is not right. And I think every little bit of information, truth and factual information from people like yourself and Patrick helps them to connect the dots and see what is really going on globally, the big picture. I want to end and give you each an opportunity before we conclude for any final remarks you would like to make. Patrick, I'm going to turn it over to you.
So, yes, we can see the biggest problem are the traitors, not the enemies outside of the state, the traitors inside the state, inside the system, inside the political system. And I think these agents are in every country. Maybe they are paid, blackmailed, I don't know, but they are working not for the interests of the people. And this is the biggest problem. Yeah? These dogs, and yes, this worse, you can find on every corner, in every street, because the morality now in our century is very, very low, and these structures to like to have connections with them and to like to find them to work for their interests is very easy for them. And this is a very big problem. It's also a big problem in Austria, in Western Europe, yes, because the people are only working for money. They have no ideology. They have no values. And this is the biggest problem, because so we can see for the powers that like to have influence, it's a very big possibility to find these traitors, to find these agents in every country. And this is the biggest problem I see now.
Dragana, turn it back to you for your final comments.
Thank you very much. So I will say, no matter that you heard a lot of bad things from me, in a sense not very optimistic, I'm really optimistic about our future, because I think we reached the moment when the things cannot be backward. I think it's not possible to return the things on the way they were in the past. And this is something very good because I will say that I was waiting for this, what is happening now, I can say 30 years, and I'm very happy because this is happening now. A lot of changes everywhere, and I'm sure that this new world will be much better than the world we lived before, especially this monopolar American world. I think this multipolar world will be much more better, much more better for people and for common values, for human values, for protection of culture, religion, and history, for international law, for justice, for everything what people really need, especially after 30 of or 40 years of this darkness. So I'm very happy because of that. And once again, I want to thank you, Regis, and to Patrick as well, because he's fighting a lot also for this our better new world, and to all people who are fighting, and especially to our colleagues from Russia, because I think they are probably the leaders in these big changes, world changes, and they are fighting, really fighting in the real world, but they're also fighting not only for themselves. I think they are fighting for whole the world, like it was in the Second World War. And I'm very thankful for them, and for that they are supporting Serbia no matter what our government is doing. So I'm very optimistic. I think the things will be better in the future. I think we will reintegrate the territory of Kosovo, which is our ancient territory. I think also the Armenian people will find a way to protect their interests, probably in the cooperation with Russia. And I think in the future, this kind of politicians like Pashinyan, like Macron, like Baerbock, like Trude, like Vucic as well, the politicians who are not working for their own people, but who are working for foreign interests or these big corporations or these families or Bilderberg or whatever. So I think also their work will be finished. I think they don't have future in this new multipolar world.
I want to thank you both. And Dragana, I'm glad and so glad you mentioned Russia, because I think the three of us will agree Russia is not only fighting for its future existence, it's not really fighting against Ukraine. It's fighting for these powers, the globalist powers, the corporations, these royal families, whoever they are, and fighting to preserve their history, their culture, their values, and their religion. And Dragana, I agree with you. I think Russia is fighting this war for all of humanity. Patrick and Dragana, I can't thank you enough for this incredible and important discussion. And I will have you back again soon to comment on all of these things that are rapidly evolving right before our eyes. So thank you again. And I wish you the best of luck and great fortitude in continuing your efforts together and independently, because it is so important.
Thank you very much, Reggie. It's always my pleasure to speak with you, and looking forward to see you soon and to talk again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Regis. I'm very happy to be in your show because important to give also these informations to the people in the USA and in these countries with English language. They also should see what is the reality, and